I'm going to call the meeting of Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee to order. Today is Monday, March 3rd, 2025, and it's 7 p.m. We are in the Aldermanic Chamber, and this was duly noticed in 2 places, including the city's website, in accordance with requirements RSA 91A2. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Alderman Senate is here. Alderman Tom Lopez.
I'm here.
Alderman Ernest Jetty.
Here.
Alderman at Large Ben Clemens, Vice Chair.
Is anyone able to make it this evening?
And Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly, Chair.
I am here.
Also joining us this evening are Director Tim Cummings via Zoom, Mayor Donchis, and Alderman Moran.
Okay. We are going to open it up to public comment. As a reminder to everybody, please come to the mic, state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Summer Moran, and I go to Bicentennial School here in Nashua. I'm here to ask you to ban kratom. It is a bad drug that shouldn't be sold at gas stations. Thank you for your time.
Address?
15 Lamb Road.
Thank you. Anyone else who wants to give testimony, just come up to the mic.
Actually, some handouts for people. Can I give them to you and you can? Okay, great. So this is a properly labeled product. I was able to get 20 signatures from being in your town for 30 minutes, not in favor of.
If you could
the
speak
ban.
when you're at the
Okay,
mic for
great.
me. Sorry, it has to be part of the
Okay,
record, please.
This is a petition for the clerk, and then this is for
Yeah,
us.
those are testimonies, and then there's a handout copies for
All right, so put the handouts here, and we're gonna give the rest of this to Tim.
3.
And just name and address for the record, please.
Sure, yes. I'm from Newton, New Hampshire. My name is Jen Mercier, and I come on behalf of the National residents and also everyone in the Live Free or Die state. So I just handed I've been in your area for maybe 20 minutes and was already able to grab 20 signatures. I'm sure I could get hundreds, if not thousands more if I just had a little bit more time out. This meeting was kind of thrown on me last minute. I called your office several times and couldn't really get any information about when this topic was going to be brought up. So what I have given handouts of, there's a survey of the adult kratom users in the United States from Johns Hopkins. There's lots of scientific evidence that it's actually very safe when consumed responsibly. There are millions of Americans who use it for multiple different reasons. It is amazing for preventing withdrawals from opiates. It's also just a pain relieving for people who want alternatives to pharmaceuticals, which I am one of those people. I refuse all pharmaceuticals. I actually have a hemorrhaging cyst right now, and I'm bleeding internally, and I am in discomfort 100% of the time. And I can take just a little bit of powder whenever I need it. I don't need it all the time, and it makes my life so much better. There is a lot of scientific document to back this. I have the entire American Kratom Association binder with me with scientific documentation, which I'm happy to sit down at another time if anybody is interested in those. I have a letter from John, who is American Veterans for Kratom. There are a lot of veterans that use this leaf to help them with a better quality of life. I also gave you a stack of testimonies. I have an online petition that I just started, already has 300 signatures, along with all of their comments of how it has changed their life. There's another letter from Laura Romney, who is also on the American Kratom Association. And then one of the things is there's some concern around toxicity levels of kratom, which unfortunately, kratom has gotten a really bad rap and a smear campaign against it, and it is very convincing. What I'm here to tell you is that it's very incorrect. The article that I read that you guys put out there said that it was smoked and like meth. It is not cognitively impairing at all. There was actually a study done on driving, and it doesn't affect people driving whatsoever, as well as it doesn't create kind of that high situation that you would expect with kind of a marijuana-like product or alcohol or anything. It doesn't have that kind of contributing factor to really inebriate someone. Of course, people abuse everything, but in my email that I had sent to Ren, along with all of you, I had several emails that I sent. There's several toxicologists, there's doctors that say basically there's no commonality between cause of death and blood level of mitragine. So there actually is zero proof that there is such thing as mitragina toxicity. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Others who would like to speak this evening? We got a really big one right here. Can't miss it.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gregory Gately, and I'm the owner of Rude Awakening Kava Bar, 300 Main Street here in Nashua. I live in Milford, New Hampshire. I'm here tonight because I believe that the proposed ban is not only a mistake, but a dangerous precedent, one that threatens personal freedoms, bodily autonomy, and the well-being of countless individuals in our community. The plant in question has helped thousands of people manage chronic pain, overcome addiction, and improve their quality of life. Many individuals who have struggled with opioids, prescription medications, and other harmful substances have found relief in this natural alternative. It has allowed them to work, to care for their families, and to live without the crippling effects of pain or withdrawals. This is not anecdotal. There are countless testimonies from veterans, chronic pain sufferers, and individuals in recovery who credit this plant with saving their lives. Yet tonight, we are here because our local government wants to take away that choice without a community discussion, without the public education, and without looking at the facts. The truth is that this plant is federally legal. It has not been banned on the national level because scientific research and expert testimony consistently shows its benefits and manageable risk profile. So why is Nashua attempting to overstep and criminalize something our own federal government has not? This isn't just about a plant, it's about the bigger picture. Do we really want our local officials deciding behind closed doors and without proper disclosure what adults can and cannot consume? Banning something simply because it's misunderstood or because of fear-based rhetoric is now how legislation should work. This is a lack of education, not a public safety issue. So I urge the members of this local city council to take a step back and listen to the people who rely on this plant, the veterans, the parents, the workers, the everyday people who deserve the right to make their own health choices. And I urge my fellow community members to stand up, demand transparency, fairness, and a government that serves us, not dictates us. Thank you.
My name is Eric Bolter.
Address, please.
What's that?
Address for the record.
Oh, 23 Midridge Circle, Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to say something to this young lady. Nice job public speaking. That was really good. And I am honored to be able to speak here. I'd just like to start off with some facts because I'm hoping that this panel and the people in this room take into consideration simple facts. In 2022, the CDC reported nationwide in all states that there were 152 kratom-related deaths, which does not mean that kratom was the cause of the death. It was only a part of the toxicology report.
If
And
you could
actually-
I'm sorry, I know you're trying to speak to them, but we can't hear it, and they
Oh, I'm
can't hear
sorry.
it on the record.
Do you want me
if
to
don't-
repeat that?
Just speak into the mic for me, please.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat that fact or no?
It's up to you.
152 kratom-related deaths in the entirety of the United States, which only means that kratom showed up in the toxicology report and was not the main cause of the person passing. In that same year, the CDC reported just in the state of New Hampshire that 295 people died of alcohol. Please sit with that for a few moments. So there is so much lack of education and stigma attached to kratom. I personally have been in long-term recovery for 14 and a half years, so I know about a lot of the street drugs, the illicit drugs that are very harmful. Kratom is a plant. It's a leaf. You do not smoke it like meth. You do not shoot it in your arm. Most people that I know that consume it literally make a tea, and it tastes like green tea. So I'm just trying to bring some perspective here for people, and I highly recommend that you do more education on what kratom really is. it is, for some people, the greatest alternative to much more severe options. And so banning kratom in this city can be very harmful and disallow people not only to have personal choice and personal freedom, but to no longer have that really good alternative option other than other substances out there. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph Plant. I'm from 17 Pine Street in Peterborough, New Hampshire. In 2004, I broke my back during the height of the opioid crisis. Doctors told me I'd be on Percocet and Valium for the rest of my life, and I suffered due to my debilitating injuries. I was addicted to these substances for years until I found kratom. I used a plant medicinally that was used for thousands of years, and it saved my life. I lost a dozen friends to prescription drugs and opiate overdoses before fentanyl made things worse. These weren't strangers or statistics. These were people I know and cared about. Many of their addictions began with prescriptions from trusted doctors. Each death represents a family torn apart by a crisis that the pharmaceutical companies deliberately created for profit. Meanwhile, I've witnessed countless friends use kratom to successfully quit hard drugs and reclaim their lives. Kratom has been used safely in southeastern cultures for centuries. It was only banned in countries like Thailand for economic reasons, to protect opium tax revenue, not for health concerns. Thailand has since re-legalized it, recognizing its benefits. The scientific evidence is clear. Kratom is far safer than prescription opioids, which have devastated New Hampshire. Our state is consistently ranked among top 5 states for opioid overdoses deaths per capita, with over 450 deaths annually in recent years. The majority involve fentanyl and other prescription drugs, not kratom. In fact, there are virtually no verifiable deaths attributed solely to kratom nationwide. When kratom is mentioned in rare overdose reports, other substances are almost always present. Regarding the tragic case from Florida being cited, where is the medical report definitively that kratom alone caused that death? What other substances are present? An estimated 10 to 15 million Americans use kratom safely, many as an alternative to dangerous pharmaceuticals. This proposed ban added at the last minute without proper scientific review or public input. This follows a concerning pattern we've seen in Lowell, Chelmsford, Dracut, where kratom bans were implemented with limited public notice through Board of Health votes rather than full legislative consideration. The rushed nature of these bans raises serious questions about the procedural fairness, whether these decisions are being made on science or emotion. In Nashua and throughout New Hampshire, opioid addiction has torn apart countless families. We must ask who benefits from removing a safer alternative, not the thousands of New Hampshire residents like me who found a path from dangerous prescription drugs. I understand concerns about safety, and I extend my sympathies to anyone who's lost a loved one. We must be making decisions based on evidence, not fear. Banning kratom won't protect our community. It will force people back to prescription opioids, street drugs, or untreated suffering. I urge you to reject this ban and instead consider reasonable regulations to ensure kratom's quality and safety. The citizens of New Hampshire deserve access to safe and legal options for managing their health. Thank you.
Dan Nesslucen, 24 Wildwood Drive in Brookline. My business partner, Eric, spoke a couple minutes ago. We're going to be opening another kava bar similar to the one Greg owns here in Nashua. We're going to be opening it in Manchester. And in the process of doing that, we've had to educate ourselves a lot about kratom. About a year ago, I knew virtually nothing about kratom. And about 85% of kava bars in America serve kratom as well as kava. And so we had to consider it from a business perspective. And honestly, all that I had heard about kratom was controversial things. So I was hesitant to go forward with serving kratom. And we've spent a bunch of time doing research. We made 3 separate trips to Florida and visited over 40 kava bars there. and spoke with managers, kava tenders, and owners about their experience serving kratom and having kratom in their establishments. And we heard really positive things. And I got to meet personally a lot of people who use kratom beneficially. And honestly, I think education is key, because whether or not it's a regulation or allowing people to use it, I think being educated is crucial to freedom, and being able to say, not just that you have the freedom to choose, but the freedom to know what you're choosing. So I'm all in favor of education about kratom, and I think a lot more education is needed before making an outright ban. I also think regulation is probably the best way to go once that education is established. There are synthetic kratom products on the market that I do think need to be regulated in terms of their concentration. However, the plant itself and the tea made from that plant is, as other people have said, very difficult to abuse, not that it can't be abused. And I think as long as people know what they're getting into and understand that this is a habit-forming substance and that it's not for everybody, it is really beneficial to those people who need it. And in terms of living in a free society, I think we need to be respectful of those people and allow them the freedom to treat their health in a safe way that they choose. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda, and I live in Bedford, New Hampshire. My kratom journey started shortly after my mother passed away.
Your last name, Amanda?
Sure, it's Rayner.
Street address?
It's 15 Iron Horse Drive in Bedford, New Hampshire.
Thank you.
My kratom journey began when I lost my mom to the hands of the pain clinic. They had her on 8 months of multiple different pain medication, and it ended up taking her life. That's when I started looking for holistic ways to treat my pain, as I had been on pain medicine since the age of 9. I live with 10 out of 20 of the most painful conditions to live with, bunch others that aren't listed, but it hurts. Days I couldn't get out of bed. I am disabled. Every day I can get out of bed now. I'm not stuck in bed. I'm not stuck to the hands of pharmaceuticals. In the almost 8 years that I've been taking kratom, that's over 50,000 pills that I did not have to consume. Imagine what that would do to your organs of your body. Every year, I go in for blood work. Every year, I go in for scans of my organs, not only because my parents had diabetes and my mother also died from the pain medication. I want to make sure that I'm okay. My organs are getting better. My blood work is fantastic. I've been under the care of the doctor the entire time. I have no withdrawals. I managed my pain from a hysterectomy with kratom. The pain medication didn't work. Did not help. So I ask you, people like myself who lived 30 years on pain medication, I'm almost 47 now, that's more than half of my life. I should have the ability to a plant. You don't get high, you don't get impaired from it, and it's safe. Anything, water, taken in too much consumption can take your life. It's about accountability for yourself. I'm asking you to keep it legal because people like myself depend on it, and I can't get relief from pain medicine. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tyler Gill, Nashua, New Hampshire, 2 Hillcrest Ave. I'll make mine short and sweet. I struggle with my own problems with alcohol, and since kratom came into my life, I no longer have that struggle. Every day is a struggle, but what kratom was able to provide for me is an outlet, a place to basically come together with friends and family, and also be able to treat some of the struggles that I have. So, what I really urge you to do is recognize kind of some of the other issues that we have in our town. I mean, go a couple doors down, you have people drinking copious amounts of alcohol, getting behind the wheel of a car, and driving home. I have a friend that literally went the wrong way on the highway because they drank too much alcohol. I've had 3 kratom drinks today. I'm up here speaking in front of all you fine people tonight. I'm clearly not impaired. I'm clearly have all my faculties. So what I would urge you, give people the freedom. You see all these amazing stories up here about people that have literally changed their life by using this plant. So I'd please recommend that you keep this legal, give people the freedom to continue doing and functioning in their life the way that they should. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi, my name is Ashley Deary, and my address is 4 Duluth Street in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I'm also going to keep this sweet because I don't really do public speaking. But kratom has helped me in so many ways, and I actually almost brought my son here tonight so that he could also testify that, you know, in the past, I did have a drinking problem, and using kratom instead of being drunk and not coherent, I can now have my nights with my son after he gets home from school. I'm not, you know, easily irritated. There's so many benefits that kratom has had in my life, and I just also want you guys to consider that as well as the guy before me just said, you know, like all these people here saying how it helps them, how they need it, how it's beautiful to not have to rely on the prescription medication. And yeah, and it's just helped me in so many different ways. And again, I've also had kratom today, and I'm up here speaking, and normally I wouldn't get up because I'm super scared to be speaking in front of people, but this is something that really matters to me, so I'm up here speaking. So yeah, thanks.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Timothy McLaughlin. I'm from 256 Stevens Street, Lowell, Massachusetts, formerly of 12 Topaz Drive, Nashua, New Hampshire, not too long ago. I'm here speaking on kratom for its positive thing. I look at kratom like a tool, and it's a tool to help people with problems. And the tools we have to help people with problems right now are not very effective. I have family members that were addicts, actively, formally, and they used to go to methadone clinics. And you know what? Every day they go to methadone clinics, and it did nothing for them, right? They will still go to methadone clinics and still have the urge to use drugs the same day. So this is a tool that could help your community, and it really should be looked at in that sense. I know with everything in life, you can overdose on anything, as you said, water. You can overdose on water. You can drown on water. You can take a prescription drug and overdose. You can overdose on Tylenol, ibuprofen, but we never look at those as a problem. And I just think you're robbing your community of a tool that could be used to help your community. And from Lowell and Nashua, there's no shortage of opiate abusers in the area. And I see this as a very positive tool to help those people. And I don't think it's smart to take away a tool. If you want to look at regulation, you want to look at, hey, 18 plus, maybe even 21 plus, but let adults be adults. Let them have the tools they need to get off worse things for them. You know, I know it's easy to ban something when you don't know anything about it. Like, how many people knew about kratom? Like, honestly. Yeah, but still, the majority of the public knows about kratom. I think it's pretty low. So it's easy to just do a flat ban on something that's not very well known compared to other things, such as other opiates. And it's not an opiate, but it helps people that are on opiates. So like I said, I'm just speaking from a family member of addicts, and I see kratom. I've never seen anyone rob a bank because they had too much kratom, all right? I've never seen anyone do that, but I've seen plenty of people that have been on heroin make some really poor choices in life. And I really like to see it as a tool that will be utilized to help Nashua residents to, continue to do positive things in the community. You know, all drug users are not bad people. They just made some bad choices. And if you take a tool away from them, that's one less tool they have to try to make better choices and be positive members of the community. And that's all we really want. We have a lot of people in this room that are positive members of this community. I'm in Nashua, probably more. I'm in Lowell at this point. And I'm probably going to be here more if we don't ban kratom versus if we do, because they did it in my community, and I think it's a mistake. So I came here tonight to speak on the behalf of the benefits of kratom, and just to let you know that it is a tool that can be used in a positive way. And just like any tool, you just have to be open-minded in how you use it. Thank you so much.
Mary Kay Gorman. I'm 76 Clement Road, Drake, Mass. I'm here to ban kratom. I feel the pain of a lot of these people. I have a lot of pain in my body as well. My father was an alcoholic. I might be one too, just kidding. But if you can find a drug that fixes these people, that is wonderful. If it's so wonderful, why can't we get the FDA to approve it? I'm not against them having this stuff to help them heal, but if it's that wonderful, why isn't it approved? I'm here to ban it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dylan Smith.
Dylan, can you wait till you're at the
Yeah,
to speak?
my
in?
name's
Thank you.
Dylan Smith. I'm from Newton, New Hampshire. I just want to speak to her point, and I think unfortunately why kratom is not being legalized on the federal level is there's a lot of corruption in our government, and what it really comes down
You're using his time up.
what it really comes down to is money. And kratom is not known. 7 out of 10 Americans have never heard of kratom leaf, and it's a $1 billion industry in this country already. And pharmaceutical companies, those with a lot to profit, people in the pain management, people doling out Suboxone, people giving out methadone, people at rehab clinics, and people, there is a huge amount of prescription medication used in this country, more than anywhere in the world, and kratom leaf directly cuts into the profits of the pharmaceutical companies that lobby our government. And that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at top-down corruption from pharmaceutical companies lobbying the FDA, not allowing them to, because when the FDA brought kratom leaf to be actually banned by the DEA, their science was rejected because it was called, quote, junk science. Because like many people have stated, when they actually looked at the toxicology reports of people that died with kratom in their system, most of the people, not all of them, there probably is a limit where you can die from kratom leaf. It would be very hard to consume that much powder. Extract's a different thing, but almost all of the people that supposedly died of kratom intoxication had fentanyl, heroin, or a litany of pharmaceutical drugs in their system. So they've globbed onto this. We're now seeing a campaign across the country with grieving parents saying that kratom is hyper dangerous. And the truth is that for people like me and so many in this room and for people across the country, it saves lives. People are jumping ship from pharmaceuticals. People are dealing with the side effects and all of the issues that come along with pharmaceuticals. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in my 20s. It turns out that I had what's called neuroborreliosis, which is an infection of the brain and nervous system by the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. I was put on benzodiazepines, stimulants. The drugs that I have taken are 10 times more potent and have 10 times worse side effects than kratom does. And I was given them like it's candy, like it doesn't even matter. And so that's why it's not being allowed at the federal level, because there's massive corruption, and this is all about money. And you've got people here, millions of people across the country saying, this is saving my life. I'm one of those people. I was deemed treatment resistant after being put on 20 different psychiatric medications. I have not taken a psychiatric medication in 8 years, and the reason why is because of kratom leaf. I have not had a single issue with this part of my life, my mental health, my physical health. And like I said, neuroborreliosis, I deal with a ton of pain. I can take one leaf. I take a teaspoon 3 times a day. It equates to 9 grams. I've been doing that for years and years now. My dose hasn't raised. I'm sober from alcohol. Got sober in 2016 from all prescription pills and alcohol. And kratom leaf saved my life. So for the couple people that may be damaged by it, there's thousands and thousands more who are being saved by this plant. And you should, for your constituents, with the amount of issue that we have in this country with opioids, especially in this state, and even alcohol, I mean, this is an absolute no-brainer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will remind people that the 3 minutes is in, and if we can keep quiet and that when people are speaking, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph Walski. I'd just like to share my personal experience with kratom and how it saved my life.
Did we get your address, sir?
Sorry? Oh, yeah, 9 Taconic Drive, Amherst, New Hampshire.
Thank you.
So I personally have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, as well as PTSD. My mother had struggled with alcohol, been to countless rehabs, and nothing worked. And then it became amphetamines. And after she was removed from the house, I myself found comfort in alcohol. And I would be drinking to the point of blacking out almost nightly. And I'm 18 years old, so let that set in. About a a month or two ago, I was able to actually quit drinking through kratom. And I have not had a sip of alcohol since. I haven't had a thought of alcohol. And I'm not addicted to kratom whatsoever. I do it once a week as a tea, very medicinally. It's not addicting at all. I don't have any like withdrawals from it. It's just helped me focus much better. It's quieted my head so much, and it's just helped me a lot. Thank you very much.
Bobby Wayne, 32 Grady Hill Road, Goffstown, New Hampshire. I don't do kratom. I tried it a couple times, I'm not sure of it. But I can tell you banning any kind of plant medicine is tyrannical. Adults telling other adults what they can consume is tyrannical. Being on that side of the fence, you can expect that there's going to be massive resistance. The Doge team inspects everything. Do what's right for the people, allow them to do what they want to do. Thanks.
Any additional public comment?
Good evening, committee members. My name is Holly Truvo, and I come before you to speak tonight about kratom.
Address, please.
Yep. It's Tennis Plaza, 74 Tennis Plaza Road, Drake. Thank you. And I come to speak to you tonight about kratom in my hope that it will be banned in the city of Nashua. I lost my only child, my 25-year-old son, Ty, to kratom on February 6, 2024. I know you're aware kratom was banned in Lowell on January 1st, and it was just banned in Drake on Thursday, February 20th. The ban of kratom was so important that our state legislature for the towns of Drake and Tingsboro, Colleen Gary, attended Thursday's meeting. Chelmsford also has their public hearing tomorrow on a ban. I come to you knowing I am currently not from this city nor state, but would be remiss if I did not come to speak, and I would not be honoring my son either. I may not live here, but I do have ties to this city and state. I lived in Pelham until I was 13. My nephew currently lives here. I'm a teacher in the town of Tingsboro, right next door. My mother teaches at St. Christopher Academy, and my sister Mary Beth has been the guidance counselor at Sunset Heights for 22 years. Plus, we are neighbors. My son died from drinking a kratom seltzer, right here if you'd like to look at it, marketed as alcohol-free, caffeine-free, and sugar-free. He did grow up here his whole life, but lived the last couple years in Florida, and he actually bought it from a kava bar in Florida. You have a kava bar in this city that does sell teas. I know they don't sell these, but they do sell some kratom teas. I firmly believe he was getting addicted and he did not know it. Kratom has opioid-like properties and is used by many recovering addicts to get off Suboxone. But there are people like my son who had no opiates in his system, and his sole cause of death was mitragynine toxicity, and it was listed solely as an accident. Not an accidental overdose, just an accident. There was no secondary cause, and I will show you his death certificate at the end if you'd like to look at it. The DEA even classified it into a Schedule I drug in 2016 due to concerns of people having seizures and an increase in calls to poison control. But because of too much backlash, it was taken off their list. But 9 years later, we are now seeing more and more deaths in addiction to kratom, and they are coming from the south and they are heading more this way. Off the plant, the leaf may be beneficial, but frankly, it's from where it leaves until it gets to the United States and lands in the stores is where the problem arises. Without any real regulations and FDA approval, how can you regulate? Kratom advocates say they are for regulations, but cannot say how that would be possible besides anything that would be American Kratom Association approved and anything that is unadulterated, which means in its pure form. But I again ask, how can you regulate that in every mom and pop store? You just can't do it. And to say to regulate for over 21 years old would not help, since most of the deaths arise from people over 21. Advocates for kratom will also tell you they have so much research by doctors who have said it is safe and a better alternative to opiates. What they fail to say is that many of them are being paid by the American Kratom Association, a billion-dollar industry.
Time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. My name is Linda Truvel, and I live at 15 Scarborough Way in Dracut. I have 55 years of experience in education in Dracut, from a teacher to assistant superintendent, as well as being a present school committee member in the same town. I've come out of retirement 3 times, and presently I teach at St. Christopher's Academy in Nashua. In all my years working with young people, and no matter in which town I have been, I have had a goal to help them become successful in their lives and feel safe in an unpredictable world. Last year I lost my grandson to kratom that can be made into teas and sold as kratom seltzers. Anyone who has lost a close family member will understand the devastation such a death can cause to a family. But the worst product of my grandson's death was that I couldn't remove the pain from my daughter losing her only son and child. But being here tonight, my objective is to hopefully ask your consideration in banning kratom from being sold. Please help us as a community filled with beautiful children to protect their choices in life and not have harmful substances available for their purchase. The state representative in Dracut has indicated to me that there are 6 bills in the State House, 4 from the representatives and 2 from the senators, that are up for voting a ban in all of Massachusetts. As a bordering city to Massachusetts, please consider a ban on kratom sales in Nashua. This city could be another catalyst for protecting our children from kratom deaths. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrew Strauss. I'm from Amherst, New Hampshire. My address is 17 Oak Hill Drive. I want to talk about the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, also known as KCP. I have a copy of the Georgia bill right here. So basically, you know, if you can ban something, you have the power to regulate it, right? And kratom has been regulated in other states. It's just where it comes from and like what's added to it, that's the issue. Like kratom itself, it's a very safe substance. I've taken 3 times the amount you're supposed to take by mistake one time. I had one of these kratom shots. And the worst thing that happened was I was a little sick, I was dry heaving for a couple hours, and then the next day I was fine. And I mean, that's like the worst of it, you know? That's, but anyways, yeah, I have this for you guys to look at here. This is very corrupt, I think. I can't believe we're even here talking about this right now. It's ridiculous. It's a medicine. It's helped me a lot with, you know, my anxiety, depression. It's helped me with a lot of things. It's a tool, like someone else here said. And I'm so pissed. Like, why aren't we banning all these, you know, pharmaceutical drugs that literally kill people every day? You know, everybody, right? Yeah. It's ridiculous. I find that very, just, I don't know, concerning about our government and just where we're at right now. It's corrupt. That's all I can say about that. Yeah, so thank you.
Hello, my name is Jesse Bridger. I live at 48 Locke Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm here about the kratom ban, and you know, I've lived in New Hampshire for 10 years now. I've gone through addiction in New Hampshire, and I've gone through recovery in New Hampshire. And the thing about Nashua itself is we pride ourselves on being a recovery community. We're a refugee city. We have more rehabs per capita than some have in states. And me being a 2-year clean and sober person, me finding kratom gave me a life back. I am no longer in the pain that I used to be. I am no longer searching for drugs or alcohol. This is 2 years, as of March 3rd. 2 years clean, nothing. I go to rehabs and I share my story. I go to Alcoholics Anonymous and share my story. And we are all advocates for each other in this community, especially in Nashua, being such a prized city for drug and alcohol recovery. And I feel that ripping something like this out of our city would be detrimental because we have too many people going back to drugs and alcohol in the streets. All you have to do is walk out the door. So my feeling is getting this out of our city would be very detrimental for people like myself that get to celebrate recovery, but also get to have, tolerance of pain, because my doctor, they will give me gabapentin any minute. I refuse because I'm an addict. They can put me on Valium, they will put me on anything at any minute, but I refuse it because I'm an addict, because I know myself. I have to refuse it from my doctor because I'm an addict. I have to be my own red flag and say, listen, I'm an addict. I cannot take these things. No gabapentin, none of this, none of the Xanax bars. I'm an addict. I will go out there and I will die. I don't have another run in me. I'm 38 years old. I'm finally clean and sober. And it's going to stay that way because I have found recovery in Nashua, New Hampshire. This community needs people to express themselves about recovery, and kratom has helped me in mine. I'm an advocate for it. And any doctor out there will give you anything you want, especially in this state. I've been there, I've done it, I've got it. So, all I'm saying is please give kratom a chance. That way we can tolerate our pain in other ways than going out and getting high or drunk. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Thompson, 15 Scarable Way in Dracut, Mass. I'm reading this on behalf of Eric Gitchier, who is a city councilor for the city of Lowell. I would like to start by apologizing that I could not be here for this extremely important discussion on kratom. My name is Eric Gitchier. I am currently a city councilor for the city of Lowell and was the sponsor of the motion to ban kratom from being sold in the city of Lowell, which you are aware was passed unanimously by both the Lowell City Council and the Lowell Board of Health. I am sure by now in this process each of you have done an extreme amount of research on kratom and understand the dangers it poses to our communities. Even though we are from different states, we are neighbors and come to each other's cities. We both want to work together for the best interest of our residents and visitors. I'd like to ask you to consider joining the city of Lowell, Dracut, and hopefully Chelmsford tomorrow and ban kratom sales within the city of Nashua. You would be joining many other communities across the country, including the town of Franklin, New Hampshire, who banned kratom in 2019. Thank you. Eric Gitchier.
Good evening. Mike Athelberg, United Way 20 Broad Street. I just want to first of all thank everybody for coming out tonight and speaking on both sides of this issue. It's obviously something which people are very passionate about, and I do appreciate that regardless of the outcome of the conversation. Our perspective at United Way is we do support the ban of kratom in our community, and I'm going to read for you a little bit why that is. I'm writing on behalf of our organization supporting this ban to prohibit kratom. As the president of the organization, I believe this legislation is crucial for the health and safety of our community, particularly our youth. Kratom is a substance that has been associated with numerous health risks, including addiction, respiratory depression, and even death.
Please be quiet in the chamber. I'll have you.
The data for this is supported by studies from the Mayo Clinic, not by anecdotal data, the Mayo Clinic, and the National Institute of Drug Addiction. The effects of kratom are documented to include, amongst other things, liver damage, high blood pressure, confusion, and seizures. Furthermore, the prohibition of kratom aligns with the efforts of other states and municipalities that have recognized these risks and taken action as well. We believe that prioritizing the well-being of our community, and in particular our youth, for this unregulated substance is important, and we appreciate your support in passing this ban. Thank you very much. And I have a letter that I'll just pass up to Alderman Jetty for distribution. Oh, sure.
Any additional? Seeing none. Communications.
There are none.
Interviews.
For the Conservation Commission, we have Dale Caruth, new appointment, with a term to expire March 25th, 2028, 65 Elgin Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03060.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, would you like to introduce your appointee?
Yes, Madam Chair. I am not, I've nominated, and I'm introducing to you tonight Dale Caruth, sorry. Dale is interested in being on the Conservation Commission. He's an outdoorsman. He lives in Ward 7, Elgin Street. He has attended a Conservation Commission meeting and has met with the chair, Sherry Dutsey. He's interested in helping to preserve Nashua's environment and is now retired, so he can put the time necessary into this position. And again, he's always been an outdoorsman, interested in nature and preserving our natural environment, and therefore I believe he's a good fit for the Conservation Commission. And I want to turn things over to Mr. Caruth, who can tell you a little bit more about himself and of his interest in being on the Conservation Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As stated, my name's Dale Caruth at 65 Elgin Street in Nashua. I've been a resident in Nashua since 1979. Recently retired as a project manager at down at Hanscom Air Force Base. I've been involved with several nonprofit conservation groups, including the New Hampshire Wildlife Federation. I was on the board of directors there for about 8 years. Currently also with the Pheasants Forever program in New England. We have a chapter here. And have been an outdoorsman doing hunting and fishing for all my life. And I think I can contribute, certainly have an interest in what land is available in the Nashua area and how it's being managed and conserved, and very concerned about the need for improving our habitat for both our game and non-game species. So I think I can contribute to the commission.
Great. I'll open up the questions to the committee. Alderman Lopez?
I don't know, man. Your resume looks very impressive. It's the Conservation Committee, I mean.
Alderman Senate?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Caruth, for putting your name forward for consideration. It's always welcome sight to see a Ward 7 resident getting more involved. So,
thank you.
we always like to see that, and we do have a decent amount of conservation land in Ward 7 over off the in the Crown Hill neighborhood, just behind the Maynard Homes development, and so that's actually a topic for discussion right now that I think as you get involved with the meetings and everything, you may hear a bit about as plans move forward to redevelop the Maynard Homes property there over on Burke Street, just because of its proximity to that. I don't necessarily have any questions for you. You seem to have stepped forward at the right time with a recent retirement, and I'll be happy to support your nomination. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Jettie?
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Caruth, for being willing to serve on the commission, but I'm a little concerned. I may be unfounded, but when you talk about, I know you're an avid hunter, and you talked about an interest in preserving, land for the development of game. I just want to make it clear, there is no hunting in Nashua, and the Conservation Commission is 100% opposed to hunting in Nashua or on any conservation land. So I want to make sure that you're not thinking that you're going to come on the commission and try to change that.
So I fully understand that, and one of the things that I see that is important is the maintaining the habitat. We have a lot of migratory game comes through here, and even though we can't hunt here, the game uses this area as part of its migration path. So anytime you can enhance the habitat within a community, it's going to be beneficial to, as I said, both game and non-game species. Thank you.
All set, Alderman Jettie?
Yes.
I can barely see your eyeballs, so I'm trying to see. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. We'll be taking up your nomination.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are you voting tonight on kratom, or should we all leave?
It'll come up in the committee.
I'm sorry?
It'll come up in the committee in a couple of motions.
Okay, great, thank you.
Application to license hawkers, peddlers, itinerant vendors license.
There are none.
Appointments by the mayor.
Madam Chair, if it's all right, just before I read these into the record, I wanted to ask a question of the committee. A couple of months ago, we had re-interviewed a member of the zoning board who had voted on a hot button issue. And I see that before us tonight, we have another one of those individuals up for reappointment. I don't particularly have any weighty opinion on the matter at the moment, but I just wanted to gauge if it was the appetite of the committee, out of fairness and equity to the individual we already did re-interview, if we wanted to re-interview this individual as well.
Let's say the committee. Alderman Lopez.
I had the same thought, and I meant to call the reappointee to interview him like directly and just get my sense from him. I don't want to speak for the appointee that we already had, but I don't think he enjoyed that experience. I think it got a little bit direct. But I also think that, according to him, he wasn't aware of some of the concerns that I particularly had, which is, will you be working collaboratively with legal? Now, that exchange that we had in this committee meeting was pretty widely covered, and I think the point was made. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't intend to browbeat every single reappointee. I do want to know that anybody who's going to continue to be appointed to a board or commission is going to follow legal advice and is going to be available to them when they want to present that advice. But I don't want to single out that particular board. So personally, I just intended to call the nominee, and if it turns out that there's a problem, then I missed my chance and went on vacation, unfortunately. I get it once a year. But I didn't call him before that, so I didn't want to try to ambush him tonight. But I would probably reach out to him myself as an alderman before the full board, so that I can at least confirm that he does have that position.
Alderman Jettie, did you have your hand up? Or thoughts on the matter?
So I have no problem with Mr. Shaw. I can tell you that, he's a former alderman, and, my issue that, members of the zoning board, accept the fact that it's the alderman who passed the ordinances, and it's not up to members of the zoning board to if there's an ordinance that they don't think is appropriate anymore, it's not up to them to grant variances based on that. The variances, there are 5 criteria according to the state law and in our local ordinance that they have to meet. And I've seen him speak at meetings reminding his fellow members that it is the alderman who passed the law, and they have to deal with the ordinance as it is, and that any changes would have to come from the Board of Aldermen, not from the zoning board. So, I think he understands the law very well as a former alderman, and he's been on the zoning board for a while. So I don't have any need to have him come in, but I wouldn't object to anybody else that feels that way. I had no objection to inviting him to an interview, but I don't have a need for that myself.
Okay.
That's all I had.
That's all you had?
All right,
Okay.
I'll read the motion and then. All right, with that in mind then, Madam Chair, I will make a motion to recommend the reappointment of Adriana Lopera Espedia to the Board of Registrars with a term to expire December 31st, 2027. To recommend the new appointment of Dale Caruth to the Conservation Commission with a term to expire March 25th, 2028. And to recommend the reappointment of Rob Shaw to the Zoning Board of Adjustment with a term to expire March 11, 2027.
Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Unfinished business.
There's none.
New business resolutions.
There is none.
New business ordinances.
Before us, we have O-25-051, prohibiting the sale of kratom. At this time, I'll make a motion to recommend final passage.
The motion before us is recommend final passage. I will mention to the crowd, I'm glad you're here. I appreciate that you have all come to speak. This is our time, so I want to make sure that there's quiet in the chamber as we discuss this piece. Okay. Alderman Lopez.
As a point of order, could we just clarify the role that the committee has, just for people who might not be familiar?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm happy to do that because there are people from out of town. That's fair. So you did ask. So it comes to the committee. The discussion happens in the committee. That is generally how we work it here in the city. And then the committee can either decide to send it forward to the board to make a decision at the full board at our next board meeting, which is that next Tuesday?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The committee can table it or and to look for more information. There's a bunch of different things we can do, but the work is really done in these sessions with a recommendation then sent to the board from the committee.
Just one further.
Sure,
I
Alderman
am
Lopez.
not telegraphing anything to members of the audience, but we did have a misunderstanding when somebody was trying to do a Gaza-related ordinance that we also send legislation to the full board to be permanently postponed or tabled or something else. So either way, it's going to leave the committee at some point, and it doesn't necessarily mean the committee endorses it. Also doesn't mean the city's committee is rejecting it. So it's important for people to know this is the discussion part and the vetting part, and all of that can happen again at the full board too.
Correct. We can send it with a recommendation, with no recommendation. Many options here. So thank you, Alderman Lopez, for bringing that up. It's important. I see Alderman Juddy's hand and then Alderman Senate.
Yeah, just procedurally, we were handed some items, and I would just like to make sure that we receive them properly. So
Make a motion to accept.
yeah, so if I can move to accept these three items.
And place them on file.
I think there's three.
There's additionally a petition that I just brought directly over.
Yes,
Can
we
we
received.
take a petition, or is that supposed to go to the clerk's office?
I mean, we can say that it was received here and then figure out where it has to go. It's not big enough that we're going to do it anymore.
It's not like a charter change petition or anything like that, so.
I've never had anyone hand me a petition at a meeting, so. Okay, if no one has any objections, we'll accept them and place them on file. Okay, actual discussion.
Would the maker of the motion want to present on it?
The maker of the legislation.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you. First, I appreciate every single person coming out tonight. It gives my daughter a great experience in the political process, and hopefully she'll use this when she runs for kid governor next year. Whether it's this platform or not, it might be a little bit more tension than she's prepared for. But just by background, I am a psychotherapist. I do not believe in medication management. You'll see no psychiatrists or doctors working for me. They don't push pills where I'm from. I don't like pills. My daughter and I learned that I have a pinched nerve, and where do we go? The chiropractor. I believe in holistic medicine just as, actually probably more than any mainstream person at the board. So where did this legislation come from? I have many patients that I've helped get off of this drug. Whether it's helpful or not, that's for an adult. Over 21, we can have that conversation. I see very reputable business people here tonight that are more than willing to have continued conversations about if there should be a higher age limit. But the fact that I'm aware of from providing treatment to people who have struggled with abusing this gas station drug, and I'm not saying that the kava bars are anything like the mobile gas station. I want to make that very clear. I had one of my patients 3 weeks trying to cut it out of their system. Couldn't get it out. Had to go back on it. He was hallucinating. He was experiencing psychosis on the detox. And I understand the research. I conduct research. I read research. I am very affluent in science. And I appreciate everyone coming here to share that with me. And I will look at everything that was provided to me as well. But frankly, my agency serves thousands of people in the city of Nashua. They struggle with mental illness and addiction. I know this city's healthcare needs very well, and this is why I brought forth the legislation. And you heard from Michael Affelberg, the president of United Way. We received emails from PAL, the National Police Department, and the Prevention Coalition. So, and I've talked to other colleagues here who are of a different political ideology than me, and they're willing to negotiate on it just like I am. And I think that's part of government is compromise. But I don't get to vote at this committee. I don't get to, I could make a motion, or we can get it to the front. I mean the board, full board. But I'm open to a full ban. I'm open to the full ban because I was once a teenager. I've partied with drugs quite crazily when I was younger, and we won't go into detail about why I shouldn't also believe that drugs are bad. Abstinence is my philosophy. What was that? No, I don't. The only thing I feel that should really be looked at in this state is legalizing marijuana, because that is a whole...
Hey, why are
Can we
we
please
going
be
back and
quiet?
forth?
We can't ask questions to the Alderman.
No.
Alderman Moran, please do not
I will
respond.
be available after this meeting to speak to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I know it's a very passionate issue. But I wish I was being paid. I'm being paid by no one. I think starting off with a discussion about if it should be a full ban, partial ban, an age-restricted ban, I think it's a good place to start for the conversation. But I have had people in this city who are residents who are ill from it, who have struggled with it, and that's why it's here. My constituents reached out to me. No one from out of state reached out to me to bring this forth. It was people that voted for me, and that's why we're having the conversation.
Alderman on the committee, questions, discussion, thoughts? Everyone's being very quiet. Alderman Lopez, and then Alderman Senate.
So first, I want to commend people who are seeking recovery and are in recovery and are focusing on making their lives better. That's not an easy road. I've worked with plenty of people seeking recovery, plenty of people who weren't quite there yet, and people who are generally trying to make their lives better in areas that are not even really recognized. So that I respect, and I appreciate the passion that comes from finding your way through life. I also want to express condolences to parents that have lost their children, because there's a lot of people in this room that have their own truths, and that's the part where legislators become uncomfortable, because we have to make rules for who gets a stop sign, where it's going, whether or not somebody can drink at this age versus that age. And typically the arguments come up that when can you regulate human behavior? What's the right age? Why are there so many contradictions? I agree. I think some of the contradictions are ridiculous. I don't even want to get into why you can get married like 4 years before you're even allowed to have a drink, things like that, and why it was even worse a couple of years ago. So legislation's not going to get it all right. What I can try to do is focus on the needs of my specific constituents in Ward 4 and draw on both my experience plus the input that we receive. There were comments made that we were having secret meetings. No, this is the public meeting. But I did want to ask to the maker of the motion, because it was referenced that in the other cities involved, their Board of Health had made the decision. Did we refer this to the Board of Health as well?
May I? Actually, I was actually very surprised it wasn't referred to the Board of Health by the board president.
Okay, because that might be a step that I would actually endorse, just because we do want to have that medical input. But that being said, as legislators, we also took on whether or not we could raise the nicotine, the age at where people could purchase nicotine. I believe we took on legislation about proximity of vape shops to to education facilities, but I think that might have been at the state level. And I know we can decide when or not, or what time we're serving alcohol in Nashua. So we do regulate stuff. We don't specifically regulate it. We basically ban it and say, okay, no more alcohol after this time, and people under 21. And largely we do that under the guise of state law. There isn't any state law here. There isn't anybody regulating kratom. There is definitely a huge difference between a kava bar, which has business insurance and paid staff and is going to be accountable to their customers if something goes wrong, presumably, versus people just making teas or having friends introducing it and getting things at, gas stations or supermarkets or whatever, and then, making their own version of it. And I think that's where my experience kind of dovetails in. Kratom's not new to me. It's, as far as I know, has been around for at least 10, maybe 15 years. It was widely used by people who were in recovery through the Safe Station program. I remember literally having a primer on it from people when I was working at Keystone. So it's been around, but I mean, from what I've seen directly in this region, I think it's become much more commercialized and formally known over the last couple of years. And I don't know whether that's because the opioid crisis has suddenly brought to light a lot of alternative treatments, or whether there were infrastructure set up because cannabis is becoming more legalized, but it's definitely more prevalent, and I don't think our state government is keeping up with it. They haven't even figured out what to do with cannabis. So to that end, I am open to the idea of banning it here in Nashua, because for all of the people who rely on it in Nashua, they can also still get it next door. Knowing that there's other communities that are banning it as well, I would want to look at their, okay, I could just stop talking and say I'll vote for it.
Alderman Lopez, continue.
No, I'm okay. I'll just vote for it.
There's not a single person here from your constituency who's against kratom. I just want to put that out. Everybody
Alderman Jettie?
I mean, there is a single person from my constituency.
Thank you. So, so I don't, I'm wondering, do we have the authority to refer it to the Board of Health, or is that something that the president has to do?
I think what we've done in the past is tabled it and then requested that it was sent to the Board of Health. Does that feel accurate to you, Alderman Lopez?
We have done that in the past, and I don't think there would be a problem with doing that. We just have to ask.
Yeah.
So I don't, if anyone else wants to talk about it tonight, I don't want to cut off discussion tonight, but
No, I think your colleague to my left was thinking similar things. I would just, if you don't mind, before you make the motion, I think if we send it to the Board of Health, that's fine. I'd also like to have our Department of Health be here for our next discussion.
I'm sorry, I didn't, with that sign in front of your face.
I literally need to stand up to see you. I don't know what to do about this. Oh, I just said that I'd also like to see our Director of Public Health here for the next conversation. Doesn't necessarily, that was all I wanted to say on the record.
Okay.
So you can make your motion now if you'd like.
So, I don't know, did you want to say something before I make a motion to table?
Very briefly. I just want to start by thanking everybody who came out tonight. This is obviously an issue that flares up passions on either side of wherever you stand on it. And this is probably going to be the biggest crowd we'll ever see at a Personnel and Administrative Affairs Committee, so that's kind of fun. In regard to the...
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. In regard to the issue at hand, I agree with my colleagues who have mentioned gauging the Board of Health's input on this. We have a Board of Health for a reason, and we have relied on them for input on many issues throughout the years here. I also agree that I would like the Director of Public Health to be involved in this conversation. I think that lends credence to comments that we heard during the public comment period that this is part of a larger discussion. The insinuation was made, as Alderman Lopez had indicated, that this was being done behind closed doors or in secret. And I mean, the conversation that we're having right now is, it flies in the face of that. I mean, this is the way that we discuss and pass legislation in this city, and we rely on the the professionals that we have in the city to offer their expertise and their input. And so I will wholeheartedly support tabling this matter for the time being and engaging the Board of Health and the Department of Public Health, because I don't think that this decision should be made in a vacuum. I do think that it should be made in conjunction with input from our constituents, and it should be made with input from those health experts that we rely upon to guide our decision-making.
I also wanted to thank everyone for coming out. It was really interesting to hear everyone's different viewpoints, and thank you for, I know I'm a little bit, but to get through everybody and make sure everybody can hear, I appreciate everyone listening and understanding that the decorum of the board allows us to get the work done. So I'm going to let this motion be made. I'm going to recommend that you do it to a time certain for our April 7th personnel meeting, with a request to send it to the Board of Health on March 12th.
Okay, so I don't know when the Board of Health meets, do they?
Wednesday, March 12th. I just looked it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would move that we, in order to allow a full exposure of all of the evidence regarding this issue, that we table this tonight until our next meeting, and that the Board of Health, we ask the President to refer to the Board of Health for their advice, and that the Director of Public Health attend our next meeting and be available to answer our questions then.
Okay, you've heard the motion. There's no discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We can't, just for anyone who's from out of town, we actually cannot debate a table. That's why we all talked before he made the motion.
Just as a point of clarification, though, we also can't guarantee that the Board of Health will do it, because I've referred stuff to them that they have decided to wait on before.
Yeah, we can't compel them to actually do it.
So check the agenda before you go, because they may or may not have it.
Thank you for that. Okay. Tabled in committee.
We have 025-046.
There's not corruption in this? Was that his daughter that spoke that read that?
I would ask people who are in the gallery to please be
people who
quiet
didn't
or
listen to her
leave.
introduce
We have
herself
other
can just
business
stop.
to finish. You cannot. There's a public comment at the end. You can speak then. If you can't be quiet, please leave. Thank you.
That was his daughter that spoke and wrote a written script.
Yeah.
That is wild, you guys. That's how this works?
Like a whole bunch of people from a different city showing up at the same time.
I'm not surprised.
Okay, go ahead, Alderman Senate.
All right, I'm sorry. So tabled in committee, we have 025-046, providing information on the tax bill about property revaluations and providing for future notifications of upcoming city revaluations. I don't believe that we should remove this from the table at this time, as the primary sponsor is not here to speak with it this evening.
And Alderman Moran also left, so I thought maybe he was here to speak on that. Anyone?
If I may.
Yep. Alderman Cummings.
Hey, Director Cummings.
Thank you for the promotion. Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services. Alderman GOV did ask me to speak on this. I'm sorry, I'm hearing some background.
Yeah, it's really hard
One moment,
to
please.
conduct our business right now. Do you want to close the other side, Tom, or I think we're okay?
I think the other side.
They're all over there.
It's that one? Okay.
It's this that it really echoes.
Give us one moment, Director Cummings.
Oh, I lied.
There's actually not a motion before us, but go ahead, Director Cummings.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to clarify and make sure everyone knew. Alderman GOV reached out to me earlier today, asked me to speak on this piece of legislation to provide an overview of what it endeavors to do and try to answer any questions that may arise, as I think he was looking to try to move this legislation along if it was the will of the body.
I can take it off the table.
I don't know. My personal, Gouveia, Moran, nobody who's a prime sponsor is here to speak on it, and Alderman Clemens is not here, so we do not have full committee. I mean, I'll do what the body wants, but I would love to have the full committee here. Alderman Lopez, what do you think?
I have the same opinion, honestly. We should do it when everybody's ready to do it.
Yeah.
And if Alderman Gouveia wants to.
I'm happy with leaving it on the table.
Okay, great.
That'll remain on the table then.
Sorry, through Alderman Cummings. Sorry if you stayed for that. I appreciate it. You can talk about it when you come for your presentations. Oh, we skipped your presentations, didn't we?
Yes,
Somehow.
but I will be back in April. Happy to do it then.
I'm so sorry. We skipped it on the agenda right after our interview. We were supposed to have two presentations, but Director Cummings requested that he do them in person when he can be here at our next meeting in April, which will be a full agenda again.
Yes, and we can take up this legislation. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're leaving that on the table. All right, public comment.
No, we just wait for them to leave because we've seen them before and they say stuff. So
They
we
show
just-
up to every
They
time.
show, and they say, so we
Every
just,
time.
which is fine, but we just wait because we don't,
And they
Okay.
say things that aren't very nice.
we're, yeah, we're just too old for that.
You can stick with us. We're going to be done pretty soon, but
Yeah,
so nobody wants to speak.
I try to avoid conflicts, so stay here.
All right, any general discussion?
Recommendation, if you want to avoid conflict, don't run for office. I mean, I was just trying to end my day.
Anything else? I will just, in discussions, say that I will follow this along and I will ask that this is heard at the public health meeting next week. I'll reach out to Alderman Timmons is the liaison, correct?
Yeah.
Um,
I would also
and-
recommend talking to Director Bagley.
I tried. I didn't get it to her in time for this meeting, but I think I will reach out personally and also make sure she can join us for the April meeting in case there are questions. Is there anyone else that we would want here? Just as I make my nice little list. So we've moved on, but I will let you do public comment if you'd like. Just come up to the mic if you'd like to ask a question. Just sure, name and address.
My name's Justin Shea. I live at 74 Tennis Plaza Road in Dracut. All of these people come up here, and I'm happy that they got sober off of certain things, but they seem to be dependent on one thing. How are you sober? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay. I think I was in the middle of asking if we wanted anyone else here. Thank you.
Oh, I had a motion.
Oh, you want to move? Well, we still have to go through remarks by Alderman. Are you going to make some remarks?
I had no remarks.
You have no remarks. Anyone else have remarks?
Yeah, I'd like to, it's more a question for the committee, but, you know, I think that, you know, when we had the discussion about, you know, increasing the time for public comment, you know, we talked about, you know, how people can, you know, send us emails and write letters and, you know, communicate with the board in various other ways other than you know, using time during the meeting for public comment. But that kind of assumes that we're going to, you know, receive this correspondence. And I think that the public expects that when they send a letter to the board, that you know, every, you know, our legislative assistant makes sure that each alderman gets a copy of it, and we all read them. But I think the public has an expectation that we formally accept these communications and make them part of the record. And you know, I think in the past, you know, the board has done that. I know other boards do that. Other committees that I've been on, you know, accept communications in a more formal way, and we seem to not be doing that. And I'm wondering if you know, if we should, you know, formalize that. I don't know if, you know, just a word to the president or a word to the chair, or, you know, whether some legislation needs to be introduced. But I think that it would be good for the public to feel more heard if, when they send a letter to the full Board of Aldermen, that there be a record that it was received, accepted, placed on file. We don't have to read it out loud during the meeting, but just acknowledge that it was received. I don't know how other people feel about that.
I have a response, but Alderman Lopez, you go.
I mean, I completely agree. I know when we were doing the COVID discussions, there was this sense that people were sending things and no one was reading them. So I was advising people to ask for it to be included in the record. And I know that when we got so many communications, we were accepting all of them as an aggregate. So, I mean, maybe at some point they stopped doing that, but it was my impression that, when we receive a communication that is intended for the record, or at least they articulate that in the email, it does go on the record. Some of them look like they're just advocacy points where someone's saying, hey, everybody, you should agree with this, or you should agree with that, or I support this, or I support that. And I don't know that we should put that on the record unless the person tells us they want it to be, because they may be trying to express an opinion that's a little bit less formed, and they may not have realized that now it's going to be enshrined in city history if anybody looks.
It's interesting, Alderman Jettie, I had some similar question marks / potentially an appetite to look at how we take testimony. I know at the state level, if you give testimony, you have to also then pass out written testimony for them to put on file. So I have thought about that myself as well, because there have been concerns about, signs, not signs, or handouts, not handouts, but I think it's definitely something that I would be interested in working with you on to kind of look at. I think the other piece of it that gets a little bit confusing, and someone said they didn't know when this meeting is, if you don't know where to look, I can understand that. Where does it go? If it comes in at the full board against, say, this piece of legislation, should it then follow it to personnel so we can see it? Or do we have to then go to the full board to go look at it? You know what I mean? It gets a little bit tricky as to where that piece of information gets stored so that we can find it.
If I could.
Yeah, of course.
For example, tonight, the people who came and spoke, it's clear, on both sides, it was clear what they were saying and that we heard what they were saying. But I know and I think, it was addressed to the full board, so I'm sure you all, we got correspondence from the Greater Nashua Mental Health. We got correspondence from the Nashua Prevention Coalition, and we got correspondence from a third, which names escapes me right now, but they were all opposed, and they were, their opposition was supported with what appeared to be medical evidence. As opposed to anecdotal, and and anybody watching this meeting tonight didn't get the benefit of that. The opponents and proponents were may not even be aware that we got that information, and that may influence us in some way. So I think that. We ought to follow up with the president and maybe Corporation Counsel about how we can better structure the receipt of correspondence like that.
I would also mention that as aldermen, we have every right to read any correspondence, or as a prime sponsor, you can say, hey, we got this letter of support, or read it directly into the record so that we have it. But it's a good point. We get things that not everyone is privy to. Until it's on the record at some point later in history. Any additional discussion? I know we kind of went backwards into general discussion. Nothing?
No.
Do I have a motion? Alderman Lopez.
I'd like to move to adjourn.
You heard the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
You can stay here all night if you like. It is 8:24 and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.